Hello, this is Mr. Bacon Bits, and welcome back to Tiny Bunny. This game has finally been updated. It's, Chapter 2 is finally out. So I tried to play up to where it's basically paid now. So I bought the game and I played up to where the prologue ends. But I did notice a few different things. I believe the art is a little bit more polished, and there is voice acting. So that's kind of interesting. I also saw that there were some additional maybe character sprites. So yeah, let's just go ahead and load. I actually saved at this scene right here because I wanted to try something a little bit different. So let's go ahead and go in. If you haven't watched my Tiny Bunny prologue, go ahead and do that. The old photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up and familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I almost reached out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and a blurry image appeared for a moment. It was a dark taiga forest, just like the one outside my window. The picture split the screen in half. Something creepy resembling human speech was coming out of the speaker. Just a few moments later, the scenery was once again overshadowed by noise. Did it catch some rogue signal? Local TV station only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. And only just recently I used to always watch Robotech before school. It was so awesome. Maybe I should tinker with the antenna. What if I catch this channel again? On the other hand, Olya had asked me to find the tape. It wouldn't be nice to disappoint her. But in my sleepy state, I didn't have the strength to do all of it. Okay, so last time I played, I went ahead and just did the tape. So let's see what that mysterious transmission was, okay? The picture finally cleared up. But the moment I rejoiced at finding that weird signal again, the TV started coughing, a voice barely coming through the cacophony.
Видели его часто. Именно тогда.
Small, snowy hills were lined up on the screen, pierced with rickety crosses, and a male voice was narrating with a slow, mournful voice.
Стояла беспросветная кладбищенская ночь. В то мрачное время маленькая Сеня встретила свою судьбу в лице чудовищного обитателя дикой чащобы. Местные называют его не иначе, как хозяин леса.
I froze and did my best not to move, as if by doing that I could scare away the narrator. I listened closely to his every word.
Зверь разобрался с беспомощной девочкой по-хозяйски.
The camera panned across the snow with something black spilled over it, looking for ragged pieces of cloth that were thrown all over the place. I didn't want to think whether Senya's remains were wrapped in there, so I shut my eyes without thinking. The voice continued.
Волки здесь редкие гости. Вот что поведала нам баба Тамара, обитательница одного из местных склепов.
A close-up shot of the face of an old homeless woman, weary from life and alcohol abuse, rattled on the screen.
Да, да, бестия страшенная, хуже мертвеца отрытого.
The old woman splattered saliva all over the rectangular mic.
Бессмертие-то хорошо, как немытый.
The rest of her comparison was swallowed up by the sound of a horn.
Не припомню я такой вони. Стояла эта тварюга там, где ты, милок, сейчас стоишь, и таращилась на меня прям посередь дня. Здоровенно такая, глаза стеклянные.
Obscenities were covered by another beep.
Говорит, что ежели тебе этот дьявол заприметить, то сунет в мешок к себе и дел с концом. Но меня он не трогает. Ха-ха. Видать, нравлюсь я ему. Вот и забудь меня чертовой невестой.
Что правда, то правда. Опустившимися до звериного образа жизни хищник брезгует, предпочитая детскую невинную кровь.
Can I give props for the voice actors? This is really, really good.
Теперь все чаще хозяина леса видят в поселениях на периферии нашей родины.
Torn between believing in what was said and shrugging it away, I decided to record the remaining part of the documentary for some reason. I quickly grabbed the tape that was on top of the TV and put it into the VCR without even looking at the cover. I pressed record, turned the sound up, and paid attention to the slipping signal.
Хозяином леса его прозвали не просто так. Ему подчиняются все звери, пернатые и лохматые. Они предвестники появления самого чудовища. Если слышать его вдалеке, то, скорее всего, он знает, где вы живете. Если порог дома истоптан звериными следами, а за окном караулят птицы, прячьтесь, он уже идет за вами. А если однажды ночью, проснувшись, вы увидите глаза в окне, то скоро, 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 скоро,
Okay.
скоро, скоро.
I forgot about that! The TV suddenly went mad and looped the last word over and over, piercing my ears. I got goosebumps all over my spine. You're fucking telling me! The tape ended and was rewinding to the beginning. The sound of rustling tape reminded me of the leaves in the wind and the low howl of the beast. I woke up from my stupor and pressed the button. The VCR ejected the tape. For a moment I thought it was stained with saliva. But that was just the light from the chandelier making the black plastic glossy. And then I saw the cover. Oops. I recorded it over Peter Pan. Oh, you! That's what I get for hurrying. It was bad enough that I ruined Olya's cartoon, but I also put this creepy stuff over it. I accidentally right-clicked. That brings up the menu. I can't let her see this. We'll drown in tears. I snuck a glance at the door. I could hear the clatter of glass and the squeaky floorboards. Olya appeared in the doorway. Well, that's perfect timing.
Ты не смотришь без меня?
My sister brought the tray with unevenly cut bread and a whole can of condensed milk.
Нет, я пока кассету ищу. А ты точно хочешь Питера Пэна смотреть?
Хочу! Включай скорее, а то мама скоро сядет свой бразильский сериал смотреть.
Come on, think, fake detective.
Честно, мне как-то Питер Пэн совсем не понравился. Может, лучше «Русалочку»?
«Русалочку» я уже насмотрелась. А ты обещал.
She's so stubborn.
Придумал. Давай сначала пару серий «Черепашек-ниндзя». Согласна?
I wonder if they actually got the rights to, use these names, or if it's just kind of there, free to make references. Olya frowned, but ultimately gave up. She put down the tray and crossed her hands on her chest.
Если так сильно просишь. откроешь сгущенку? Порезаться боюсь. Края острые.
As soon as I stood up, colorful dots popped up before my eyes, and my sore legs were pierced by thousands of needles. Really? Only when I reached the sofa I realized that the can was already open. Olya had tricked me, played me for a fool. My stomach became heavy. I wanted to rush toward the TV, but my little sister was faster. She picked up the remote and proclaimed in a victorious tone,
Повелся, повелся! Владычица пульта приказывает смотреть Питера Пэна!
I couldn't even open my mouth, and the VCR had already eaten the accursed tape. She'll play it, and then... Black crosses on unnamed graves, empty crypts, bloody scraps on the snow, and the insane devil's wench. I'd better tell the truth.
Оля, стой! Я тебе конец кассеты нечаянно стер. Отдай ее мне и возьми любые две мои.
Ты чего? Не мог ты стереть? Мы с папой всем кассетам зубики пластмассовые выломали. Отверткой.
Oh, so he didn't actually get to record that.
Теперь ни на один мой мультфильм ничего записать нельзя.
Well, that's clever. My little sister pressed the triangular play button on the remote. I squeezed on the inside, awaiting the out-of-this-world voice of the narrator. But I saw the duel between Peter Pan and Captain Hook instead. I sighed in relief. My head, heavy as a leaden ball, now rested in my hands. Olya smiled in joy. She put the tape on rewind and started spreading milk over her bread. And when the cartoon started, she forgot about everything in the world. As if she really got transported to the Neverland like she always wished. To be honest, I also imagined myself there, in a land where one never ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. But now Peter Pan's land was especially far away from me. My thoughts dragged on, stumbled upon the horned beast that awaited me among the trees, and the narrator's mournful voice haunted me, sliding over bushes and ravines, like a winged carnivore would track its prey. It felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality.
Тоша, скорее, штору задерни!
Зачем? Никто же на тебя не смотрит.
Уже темно, а когда темнеет, прилетает сова. Я боюсь.
I got out of bed, fighting my drowsiness, and closed the curtains. I did my best not to look outside toward the treetops, toward the taiga forest which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from shadows of branches scraping the snow.
Тоша, мама думает, что я напридумывала про сову. И папа считает, что раз я маленькая, это значит врушка. А сова есть. Вот честная-пречестная, есть она. Ты же мне веришь? Что она там и каждую ночь прилетает и...
I swiftly grabbed Olya's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those qualities?
Я тебе верю, слышишь? Ты только родителям больше не рассказывай про сову. У них и так хлопот по горло, они только рассердятся. Ты мне говори, если что случится. И в окно не смотри.
Но она хочет, чтобы я смотрела.
Перехочет. Притворись, что ее нет и не было никогда, что она выдумка, как родители говорят. Ей ждать надоест, она улетит.
Yeah, that's exactly how you deal with monsters. We followed Peter Pan's adventures as if nothing had happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from a crocodile, and Captain Pan was headed to London on a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my little sister. Olya's eyelids had dropped. She started snorting lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. The chorus was singing the ending song. The world of Disney was lit up by a silvery moon. Another moon peeked from under the first one. Scary and wan, hanging over the taiga forest. The horrific report got recorded right over the credits. My throat went dry, my pulse became faster. I looked toward Olya. She smacked her lips in her sleep. I squeezed the remote with all my might, ready to press stop at any moment. I rewound the recording, checked if it was intact, and then carefully took out the tape. The protective pin was still in place. I stood up and left Olya's room. Whether it was by providence or by curse, I hid the tape alongside the mitten at the exact moment Mom peeked into my room.
Довольно баловства. Завтра первый день в школе.
Oh, man!
Ложись, тебе надо выспаться. Не хочешь же ты, чтобы тебя все дразнили Соней?
I mean, I guess not. Adults think everything is so simple, as if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming, to something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just a part of growing up and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barrier that was my walls. Some ethereal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on in the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into slumber. It has come, after all. The day I feared the most, the first day of a new school term. Alright, episode 2. Time to play with you. I believe it's only updated to episode 2, so... New school, new teachers, and most importantly, new classmates who I always have trouble connecting with. Like most other kids with glasses, probably. I forced myself to get out of my warm bed. Dad would usually drive me to my old school, but this morning the bedroom of my parents was silent. Did they sleep in? Maybe it was a good thing. I didn't want to get the daddy's boy reputation from day one. My parents were probably still tucked in, dreaming about the good old days when everything was so simple and easy. Sweet dreams, even if far removed from reality. I silently sneaked out to the first floor so I wouldn't wake up anybody, especially the peacefully sleeping Olya. Ooh, this is creepy. I did my best to step on the middle of every floorboard. I used to play like this even in our old apartment. If my soles touched the space between floorboards, it counted as stepping into lava. The clock was spurring me on with its hands. I need to hurry. Faster, faster! I was too fast, so I needed to circle the hallway once again. Boiling lava was bursting out of the cracks between floorboards. I needed to watch my step, to survive at any cost. Hippity-hop like a frog jumping on molehills, like a fearful bunny in a grove full of wolves. I made a sandwich in the kitchen, shoved it down my throat, and drank it down with cold tea. My appetite was as good as of someone being led up the scaffold toward a guillotine. Okay. I lowered my gaze and saw that one of my feet was standing on 2 floorboards at the same time. Burnt to a crisp, huh? I moved my foot. Disgusting little snakes writhed in my belly, the fear of getting hit and being called nasty names. The clock clicked. I need to go. It was dark outside, fitting for an early winter morning. This darkness never fully left the houses around here. I took my time tying my shoes, buttoning up the puffy down jacket, trying to delay my unpleasant exit into the semi-dark, into the unnerving unknown. I rubbed my glasses for good luck, though I couldn't remember a single time these thick pieces of glass brought me any good fortune. Are we really supposed to be going out in the dark like this? The sky was akin to a giant bruise. On the east side of it, a black cloud was swelling up. God, I forgot how good the atmosphere is in this. It licked up stars from the sky and extinguished the rising sun. Darkness was plastered all over the treetops. The cautious cries of birds got tangled up in the thicket. I locked the front door with a long key that I wore around my neck. My parents made me wear this noose, afraid that I, being a total klutz that I am, could lose the key otherwise. The wind whizzed on the other side of the gate. It invited me into my new life, toward dubious adventures. And tagged alone like an old buddy, pushing me in the back. Wide shadows that pines throughout covered a third of the clearing. Upon reaching the edge of the forest, I hid my nose in the coat's collar. I was squeezing through the thin firebreak, my hair ruffled up and my back hunched over. Tall trees stood on both sides of the tiny trail. The snowy blanket rustled under my feet, and the canopy of intertwined branches above my head cut me off from the already sparse starlight. The night had no plans of moving away from the forest. In this darkness, trees reminded me of shaggy old women that smelled of burial earth. Their trunks turned into cracked, wrinkled faces with holes in the middle as their mouths. If I lost focus even for a moment, mold-covered witches would drag me into the forest's depths. This kid has a really wild imagination. Then my parents would be walking around these parts, screaming my name. But the dead can't answer the living. Or can they? A sense of panic was growing in my chest. I was fine with Dad carrying me into the school in his hands by now, if it saved me from watching the darkness rise up in the ravines like black dough. It felt like someone jumped into the bushes behind me, so I turned around. As soon as I started walking faster, I heard the snow squeak behind me. The forest took a deep breath with its giant lungs. The windfall cracked. The wind and the birds were left behind in the field. I could only hear the forest creak. I walked, listening closely, and the unseen presence grew stronger. As if someone was following me, trying to match the pace of my footsteps. I turned my head so fast it made my neck crunch. A tiny trail behind me disappeared into the darkness. Tree branches overlapped, forming a natural tunnel.
Есть здесь кто?
The question escaped my lips and dissolved into the unending creaking sound of the wooden idols, the pines around me. Why did I think going through the forest alone was a good idea? I don't know! I'm either going mad, or someone had intentionally lured me away from home. Distant lights granted me a smidgen of hope. A country road! I ran there as fast as I could, as if afraid that the trail would shrink. Clawed hands will grip me by the shoulders, turn me around and make me look at the faces of hungry forest denizens. In the end, nobody stopped me. I almost flew to the decrepit wooden bridge, disbelieving my luck. The bridge's supports bathed in a spring, tarry and ice cold. I put my hands on my knees and looked up at the forest, then snorted, trying to calm my breathing. The thicket was pretending to be asleep. It looked peaceful, lifeless. The remaining part of my commute lied through a snow-laden road, illuminated by sparse lamplights. I chased away bad thoughts and ran as fast as I could, from one circle of light to another, seeking protection from electric lamps. Just like in that game, where you need to be the first to proclaim, "I'm protected." Here's another thing I don't think was in the prologue. If something is underlined, you can hit the glossary and it'll tell you what he's talking about. Game. Oh, just tag. Okay, right. It's just in this case that protection was flimsy at best, with darkness writhing outside its bounds. Then I noticed something remarkably eerie. In a place where the light from an inclined lamp couldn't reach, a hairy, crooked shadow came alive, with a guttural roar. It almost felt like its features deterred light. Its unnatural pose instilled fear. My eyes almost popped out of their sockets as I just stood there, blinking, trying to chase away that illusion. But the shadow didn't disappear and even got closer. My insides were gripped by horror. I stepped back and almost fell into a snow pile. The black silhouette, on the other hand, straightened up and addressed me in a sweet voice.
Чего крадешься? Душу мою украсть хочешь?
Words got stuck in my throat. Who could be talking in such a silky voice here, between the forest and the dormant village?
Чего молчишь, несмышленыш?
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
Язык вырвали? Слушай, а я тебе еще и нос откушу.
Please no.
Будешь знать, как совать его в чужие дела.
A girl stood before me, judging from the voice and the silhouette. But I couldn't even reprimand myself for getting scared by a girl, before noticing a gaping mouth under her hood, with something dangerously shiny inside. I was stunned. Really? From the cavity of her hood, a frighteningly real fox face was staring straight at me. It's just her jaws weren't moving and her eyes weren't blinking. Oh, so she's wearing a mask. A mask? It's just a girl with a fox mask on. Hey, come on. Not done yet. At least I wanted to think that. After a surprise like that, a nervous smile involuntarily crept onto my face.
А я просто в школу иду, а тут ты.
Что я? Никогда не видел, как лиса собаку кормит?
Oh! And indeed, there was a small dog circling the girl's legs. One of the strays that were chasing me yesterday, probably.
Извини, я не хотел.
After hearing my voice, the dog whimpered, lowered its ears, sniffed me out, and then started wagging its tail. I guess I still smelled of bologna that I ate for breakfast. I was shifting my gaze back and forth from the dog to the girl. She didn't seem scary anymore, just weird.
Значит, не хотел. Ну-ну. Как тебя зовут?
Меня Антон. А тебя?
А меня нет.
She's weird, definitely has a couple loose screws. But she has a nice voice. My astonishment turned into a mix of happiness and relief. This girl I didn't know was definitely human, if a bit eccentric. I mean, I can see her eyes right there. I was also a bit angry at myself. This foxy girl... Okay, foxy girl was walking through the darkness without a problem, and I shuddered from every little sound. I could just walk away, but this girl had piqued my interest. The next time a police officer asks me about my friends at the new place, I'll tell him that I befriended a talking fox.
Ты здесь живешь? В поселке?
The fox giggled and purred. She spun around so hard the hem of her coat lifted up.
Нет, глупый. Лисы не живут в поселках.
Хочешь сказать, ты живешь в лесу?
Из какой норы ты вылез?
Конечно! Лисам среди людей не выжить, пока они лисы.
Her jokes were also weird. Just like her carnival mask, paper mache with fur glued onto it. A dog reminded us of its existence with a loud bark. I unfastened my backpack. Dad would sometimes throw food in there without my knowledge. Cookies, apples, or even my favorite crab steaks. Ooh. He called it a gift from the bunny. Okay. Parents would tell their children that a bunny asked them to deliver said treat. Okay. The stray strolled toward me with mincing footsteps, with a pleading look in its eyes. The fox did definitely treat it to something, but it was probably still hungry.
Зачем ты так вырядилась с утра пораньше? На утренник идешь?
The girl shrugged, throwing silvery snowflakes off her nose, and her human form along with them, turning into a genuine beast. A real fox, agile, cunning, dangerous. A moment of hesitation and you'll be ripped to shreds. She'll tear you up and gulp you down without breaking a sweat. I couldn't help but just stand there as a stump. Until I heard her calm melodic laughter, hidden underneath the beastly mask.
Видел бы ты свою маску, сладенький.
Did she say sweetie? I got embarrassed. Went red up to my hair roots. We'd seen a fox in a zoo once when we went there with Dad, but it had patchy fur, was gray and skinny. But this girl was of fiery color and furry, just like in fairy tales. I was still rummaging through my backpack. My fingers, that were searching for the dog's treat, stumbled upon some soft, crumpled object.
Ничего.
The real beasts will wake up soon.
Спроси-ка лучше у них, где они взяли свои человеческие лица.
Okay, weirdo. The girl's shadow was dancing in the lamp's light. The dog yapped in agreement. I freaked out and dropped my finding in the snow without getting a proper chance to examine it. Cold wind instantly covered the hole it created with snow. The dog rushed to dig it out, wanting to get its treat. And the fox just snorted. Now I was so embarrassed I wanted to sink through the snow. It was still dark outside of the electric circle. On the contrary, the darkness seemed even more thick. All neighboring houses were sleeping deeply in its inkiness. I did my best to continue the conversation with the weird girl I didn't know. And we will continue it on the next video. This is getting really weird. Anyway, this has been Mr. Bacon Bits with Tiny Bunny, the full game, well, up to Chapter 2 at least. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and I'll see you again on the next video.